So we are here at the All-Star break, and things are not going well here in Anaheim. 44 and 52 on the season. We are 12 games back in the West, and we are not in a good spot in the wild card. 5.5 games back, which isn't the most games, but we do have all these teams in between us: the Rangers, the Guardians, the Tigers, the Rays, and the Twins, all in front of us for that third wild card spot. It's going to be tough from here on out. I think we are leaning selling here at the deadline and trying to just reset and head into next season because this season is just not it. I think I overestimated the effect some of our players were going to have on our team. I think I also overlooked the effect of aging Mike Trout. Also getting rid of a bunch of our bullpen. It hasn't been great. Some of the guys have been good though. Like when we come to look at the hitters here, Logan O'Hoppe still doing Logan O'Hoppe things. 160 WRC plus, 4 WAR, 15 doubles, 21 home runs. He's doing the damn thing. He even has 15 stolen bases. Logan O'Hoppe does. 2 away from his career high of 17 last year. At least I'm assuming it was indeed his career high last year. Nolan Shanuel doing his thing, almost a 3 WARs, the DH, 29 home runs, 15 doubles. Him and O'Hoppe are not the issue. Nelson Rada's been fine as our leadoff man. David Calabrese's even been solid as our center fielder, 92 WRC plus with a 1.4 WAR. You'll take that with a guy who's on the team entirely for his glove. You will take that. Ian Happ has been fine. Zach Neto has been struggling all year. Mike Trout has just really turned into late career Mike Trout, where he's just not good defensively. He doesn't hit home runs anymore. He's just kind of like a meh bat to have. It's not great. And we have 2 more years of this. It's not ideal. He's a bench player for me right now. For the most part, you will see once I go over the lineups. Wilyer Abreu's been okay-ish. It's league average WRC plus, hitting some home runs. Rosario's basically the same deal except for the right-handed hitter. Trent Gersham's been fine as a backup center fielder. Alan Serta's back up. Hasn't played much since he's come back up. I don't think he's even played at all, but he is back up on the team. Kyron Paris has just been absolutely awful after we gave him that extension in the offseason. Luckily, it wasn't a giant extension, but still not ideal. After the 4 WAR season he put up for us last year, he was just like, oh, actually, I suck. Actually, my career was more like these early seasons, and it was not like this at all. So, I got fooled. I got tricked. You caught me. What can I say? So things have just not been going well with the plate. If we take a look at the team stats here, 8th in runs scored. It's just not good enough. Flat out, just not good enough. 11th in runs allowed. It's really the pitching is the mediocre batch you can overcome if the pitching is really solid like it has been for us. And it's been awful for us. We're an aging team. Things have not been good. The defense has been awful. And like I said, I like to hang my hat on pitching and defense in this game. And we were just god-awful at pitching and defense. So we're going to have to go into next season really trying to revamp the staff, revamp the bullpen, revamp the defense a little bit. We're going to have a lot of money, essentially. We're projected to get, this is this year, so I guess we can't see what we're projected for 2029 yet. But I would assume we're probably going to be getting a decent amount of money. We have 44 million available right now, 88 for extensions. If we take a look at contracts, obviously we have 2 more years of Trout left, but Logan Webb's coming off the books. I don't think we might try to bring him back. Probably not, though. So Logan Webb's coming off the books. Dylan Cease is going to come off the books. Brandon Woodruff might opt out, and even if he doesn't, he drops down $2 million in salary. Griffin Cannon comes off the books. Reed Detmers is probably going to come off the books because I probably am not going to bring him back. We'll see. He's a maybe. So him and Woodruff are a maybe. Woodruff obviously depending on if he opts in, and Detmer's depending on if we decide to or not. Ian Happ's going to come off the books. And then we also Jordan Westberg is currently in AAA because he was just not performing. Unfortunately, if we take a look at his major league splits here, what am I doing? Batting stats, major league. We take a look. Obviously he had the really bad first season with us, but I was like, we believe in the bat. And then back-to-back seasons of just being the king of consistency. The same WAR, the same WRC plus, same amount of doubles, same amount of home runs, same walk rate and strikeout rate, just the same slash line, the same stolen base numbers. He's just the king of consistency. And then this year, just not. Just not. His walk rate dropped, his strikeout rate jumped, his OPS went down, BABIP's still the same too. He's just it wasn't going with it. And if we take a look at his splits here, Major League, you can see he had the really good May after the bad April, but then dropped again in June, dropped even more in July, and we were just like, we need to do something with this. So we sent him down. He might be a guy we look to move on from in the offseason. Doubt he has any trade value, but he is 2 more years of team control through arbitration. Probably not somebody we're looking to keep. Probably he is going to be entering his age 30 season. Alan Serta, probably going to be on the team because he has a bunch of team control at pretty cheap. Ben Joyce is somebody who's in AAA because he was just not good at all, getting really high leverage. You can see here I added win probability, shutdown, and meltdown because my guy Sporer has that, and I was like, that's useful. I like that. I like seeing that. Helps you evaluate some relievers here with the meltdowns and the shutdowns. And it's easier to evaluate relievers with some of this stuff than it would be just being like, oh, my reliever has a bad ERA. It's like, yeah, he had 1 bad outing. But, yeah, so that's here or there. You can see this is just unacceptable in high leverage. You just can't be doing that. So he's done in AAA. We might be moving on from him in the offseason too, just because he really hasn't done much for us, as you can see. We've wanted him to be good. He's just not, unfortunately. So yeah, we're going to be moving on from a lot of guys, and then so this money should be able to go up quite a bit, and I believe we are able to look at upcoming free agents. Yes, if we take a look at upcoming free agents, sort by all players, there's a decent crop coming in here. We could pick up somebody like Vladdy to help our bat. We could pick up somebody like Riley Green, could be, maybe not because he's fragile. I could have sworn Acuna was in this, but I guess they must have re-signed him. But yeah, there are some decent bats that we could go after. Luis Castillo, probably, I mean, we could. He's going to be 36, though, so maybe not, depending on how much he wants. There's like Drew Rasmussen is going to be, he's a fragile guy, though. Kodai Senga could be an option. We could obviously bring back Logan Webb. Shane McClanahan could be cool. There are some pitching options. There are some big names out there that we're going to be in the running for with our budget, with the amount of money we're going to have, with the amount of money coming off our books. And you can see here we're still making money too. We're still bringing in season tickets, revenue per game, even with the attendance being slightly down. But you know, we have the money to make a decent run here in the postseason. Not the postseason, the off-season. But the postseason does not look like it's going to be a thing for us, as this is just pretty it's just not good. 4-12 in the month of July. Things are not going well. So like I said, I'm leaning towards selling. Probably, what am I doing? Front office salaries. So like I said, with the guys coming off the books, we're probably going to look to try to trade basically everybody who's expiring. So, like, if we can get value from Cease, we're probably going to look into it. From Canning, we're going to look into it. From Happ, we're going to look into it. Maybe even Detmers, we're going to look into it. Westberg, probably not going to get any value, but we'll look into it. Ben Joyce, probably going to look into it. Maybe trade Logan Webb here at the deadline. He is only going to be a rental for a team, but I would honestly kind of prefer to be able to QO him depending on what we can get. But if there's something out there that wows me, that's like, we have to take this, then I might do it. But I don't know. Losing out on the QO could be kind of annoying, but we'll have to see. Like, so basically, we're gonna be shopping here. We're gonna be selling. We're just gonna be trying to play some young guys down the stretch. Not trying to burn in any service time. Like, I don't think we're gonna call up what's his name here. We're not going to call up Chris Sands, even though it's good to see he's been tearing things up in Double A since getting called up. We're not going to be calling up him starting his service time. We're not going to be calling up Patrick Forbes and starting his service time. We're just going to let him get the year out in Double A, shove, and then next year he's going to be a part of our Major League roster, whether it's in the bullpen or in the rotation. Some of these guys who are already on the 40 man we might bring up, like Walbert Urena. He might come up, pitch in the big leagues once we make some moves. On AAA, we've got like Healy's down in AAA because he was just absolutely god awful in the bigs. But he's down there. We might bring him back up. We've got this KY Tang. We could bring him back up. Darren McCon. That name is breaking my brain. But he's been good in AAA. We might give him some run just to get some innings. We signed George Soriano because I liked his profile. We might bring him up. He's already on the 40-man. So there are some dudes we could bring up here. Oh, Grant Taylor. He was already on the 40-man too, so we called him up because he was shoving in Double A. And then he came up and was just got awful. So we were like, all right, go back down to AAA instead. And he's been down there. So we've got some guys we can bring up and fill some innings if we need be. But like I said, we're going to be looking to move on from some guys and just kind of punt the rest of this season and look to getting into next season. Alrighty, so we are here, July 31st. The trade deadline has passed, and we did not make a ton of trades like I envisioned. I did look to try to trade Logan Webb and Brandon Woodruff and Griffin Canning, but we just ended up not being able to really find a deal that I thought was worth it, especially for Webb. Nothing that was out there was really worth it to me. There was the only thing that was even remotely worth it from a context of like equal value for me was the Mariners were willing to just straight up give me like George Kirby for him, where it's like we were basically getting like the years of Logan Webb that we just had with George Kirby when it comes to age wise, like his early 30s. And then Logan Webb's now entering his mid-30s, and it's also was going to be less cheap than Logan Webb. But I was like, why would they give me him when they're in my division? They're in first place. They were also offering Brian Wu, and I'm like, it just didn't really make sense to me from their point of view. So I just didn't do it because I felt like that was going to be ripping off the CPU. And yeah, so I opted against doing that. But we did make two decent trades here. The first one was Ian Happ. We sent him to the Seattle Mariners. So we ended up making a deal with Seattle in division, but we went with Ian Happ instead of doing the Logan Webb thing. We also sent Dalen Thompson as a guy who we thought, you know, he's like a Double A guy. He's not really like a big time prospect for us. And plus, we just have like a ton of corner outfield guys. He can play a little bit of the infield too, but it's more so like first base, not really second. So he's an interesting player, but we have a bunch of players like him, so we sent him along. And then we also we acquired, I should say, George Lombard Jr., who is currently playing third base for us. I don't know why these guys are constantly on high and not very high. I feel like even when I do this, like 2 weeks later, then they drop back down to high, and I'm like, come on, what are we doing here? But anyways, George Lombard is our shortstop right now. He has only played in 2 games since coming over because we literally just traded for him. But George Lombard Jr., big-time prospect, maybe not a big-time prospect, but he's like a known prospect, mainly because he's on the Yankees, and, you know, prospects on the Yankees get signal boosted, you know, more people know about him. And yeah, so he was with Seattle on this. How did they get him? Along with Austin Wells for Jeff Hoffman and Colt Emerson. So yeah, Colt Emerson was the guy who actually tried to get from the Yankees for Logan Webb, but the Yankees were being very stingy, and they're like, yeah, the only guy we'd be willing to give you is just like a straight up like 16-year-old Dominican for Logan Webb. And I'm just like, how about you fuck yourself? And I will not do that. So instead we go for this deal where we get Lombard. He's currently in the big leagues for us, like I said, playing third base. We'll see how he does the rest of the season, see if he's more of a bench piece for us, or see if maybe he can be like a legitimate piece for us, because I like the 55 BABIP, the 55 power. The other stuff isn't too great, but, he's basically like a younger version of Westberg right now, is how I'm looking at him, with a possibly even better defensive profile than Westberg had. That is how I'm viewing him. And then we also tacked on Mike Broyhill, who I think I remember wanting to take him in the 2027 draft. Yeah, the 2027 draft. He went round 6. And I think I remember looking at him and then like opting to take somebody else over him or something like that. But we ended up getting him through a trade here. Apparently he was in the California League All-Star game this year. We get him along with George Lombard, and as you can see, he has some pretty solid gap power already. The bat profile's he's going to have potential to be green everywhere with some light blue and gap power. Really good speed profile with the line drive hitter, and he's got the 65 range, 65 error, can play all 3 outfield positions. And I just think he is a very solid prospect. So him and George Lombard come over to us from Seattle. You can see here Broyhill has done very well this season in between A and high A. So we have him in double A. He's only played 2 games there so far. We'll see how he does there the rest of the season. And this also plays into our thing of we want to get better defense. We got to hang our head on pitching and defense. We've got like the middle of the order boppers locked up for multiple years. We've got Shanuel. We've got Ohapi. We've got Neto locked up, even though he's having a down year. We've got Rada under team control. I still believe in him. Maybe pick up a couple bats here and there, but for the most part, we have like the top of the order set here in Anaheim, and we're just trying to get some better defense and some better pitching. So Broyhill helps with that, and then the other trade we did was we sent Dylan Cease to the Philadelphia Phillies. This literally like just happened, so he hasn't pitched the game obviously yet. But he is on the Phillies now for the rest of his season. They will have the option to bring him back for next season, but I mean, if they're smart, they won't because, like I said, he is dropping like flies. He's even had another decrease. I updated you guys when he had the 88 to 90 decrease, and I'm like, he's not even consistently throwing 90 anymore. Now he's not even throwing 90 at all. I mean... They'd be ridiculous to accept that offer or that team option. So and this one was just like a straight up deal. It was just Dylan Cease. I tried to get something else out of them. We ended up picking Robert Moore, who is, if you watch college baseball, he is, first of all, he's Dayton Moore's son. So you get the whole nepotism thing going on. Love that stuff going on in baseball. It's rampant. But he was at Arkansas. He can pick it. He's got some speed, great defense, great leader, has a good gap power, avoid K profile with a decent eye, decent contact. So, never going to be like an offensive standout, but he's got the defense. He's got a good enough offensive profile to be like a decent player. He's still only 26, switch hitter, and he is only projected to make 2.4 in arbitration next year. So I just figured... roll the dice on Robert Moore here. Nothing else was popping up for Dylan Cease. He had like no value, just like Griffin Canning did, but Cease had like slightly more value. And I was able to get him, and I tried to squeeze something else out of the Phillies. Like I tried to be like, hey, how about this 28-year-old AAA reliever? And I would submit that, and then be like, how about you give us Shanuel, and then we'd do that. And I'm like, no. So instead, we just go Robert Moore for Dylan Cease straight up. And those are the only 2 trades that we made. So right now, the staff looks like this. We got Webb, Woodruff, Detmers, Canning, and then we called Andrew Healy back up. He's going to get a chance in the rotation here. We have limited to 18 batters face as that 5th starter, and just see how he does for the rest of the year. The bullpen, we've got Lopez in the stopper role because he's just been by far our best reliever this season, so he's going to get that stopper role, get the majority of the innings. Skylar Hayes is in the setup, 7th or later. We'll probably put this 6th or later, honestly. High leverage. Abner Uribe is up from AAA. He was pretty good in AAA. He throws 100 plus, self-explanatory. We needed an arm. He's an arm. Connor Phillips back up in the big leagues from his injury. He has not been good for us this season, but we are rocking with him for now. Chase Lee, we've recently called up. He's pitched 7 2/3 here in the big leagues. Hasn't been great, but it's 7 2/3. We'll see how he does. We also called up Walbert Urania from AA. He's wearing number 0, which is a wild choice for a guy who's probably just like a back end, like a non-high leverage bullpen guy. But he was good in AA the past 2 seasons. He's just kind of been stuck down there. He's 24. We figured, hey, let's give him a shot, see how he does. So Urania is up with the big league team. And then Jamie Melendez is our long relief, avoid high leverage guy. He's pitched 40 2/3. He's been fine. He is what he is for right now. And that's the staff. The lineups looking like this against righties: Rada, Ohapi, Shanuel, Serta, Neto, Abreu, George Lombard, David Calabrese, and then Kyron Paris. Whereas against lefties, it's Rada, Ohapi, Shanuel, Rosario, Neto, Trout, Lombard, Calabrese, and Paris. You can see here, Bob Moore is the backup infielder. And then we've got a situation where Trout, Serta, and Abreu are all getting a decent share of the corner outfield spots against split between righties and lefties. Because Trout just doesn't have the juice anymore to be a guy who plays every single day. Is just somebody who's never challenged for playing time. And we've got guys like Serta and Abreu and Serta, Abreu, and Rosario, who we want to get in the mix and, get some ABs. So we're giving them ABs, and we're going to see how this lineup does the rest of the season. Maybe this team goes on a run, because technically we're not out of it. Obviously, 7.5 games with this many teams in between us is not ideal, but it's not impossible. Who knows what could happen? How are we doing so far this month of July? July has been dreadful. Who knows? Maybe August we're insane, and all of a sudden we're 3 games out in the wild card or something. Who knows? I'm not really rooting for us to ruin draft position, but I wouldn't be opposed to sneaking in with wild card. It'd be very disappointing to win the World Series and then immediately miss the playoffs and not even get close. So we'll see what happens. Have mercy on us. My goodness, the season is finally over. The Los Angeles Angels follow up their 2027 World Series winning campaign with a stinker of a 72-90 season, 3rd place in the American League West. Just an awful AL West overall. The Mariners were very good. Everybody else was just awful. Not really much more you could say about that. Take a look at our team stats. We 8th in runs scored, 13th in runs allowed. The defense improved a little tiny bit as the season went on, but for the most part, all of this just unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. The hitting, honestly, unacceptable too. We are going to be making some big changes going into 2029. Let me tell you. As you can see here, the only month that we had that was any respectable at all was June. And I think that makes sense, because I think it was after June, it was all right, maybe we're decent. And then July happened. It was just maybe we actually suck. Maybe we're not good at all. It turns out that was the case, because obviously we traded away Ian Happ and Dylan Cease, but it's not it's not like that should have affected our outlook that much. But it's just, our team just wasn't good. Just wasn't good this year. Nothing really more you can say about that. Let's take a look at the lineups here. Let's sort by WAR. For the hitters, Logan Ohapi, 6 WAR season, 147 WRC plus. We have wasted a year of elite Logan Ohapi. Not what you want. But you can take some solace in the fact that Logan Ohapi is not the problem. We're not losing because Ohapi and Shanuel have fallen off. If anything, it's because I underlooked. I did not realize how fast Trout was going to go from still solid to completely unplayable as our 3rd best hitter. And that really hurt us this year, I feel like. But As you can see here, Shanuel, another season where he leads the league in home runs. 45 ding-dongs for Nolan Shanuel. 116 ribbies, leads the American League as well. He has an insane walk rate, insane strikeout rate once again. He's incredible. The Angels, the real-life Angels, they can't even fathom this man doing these types of numbers. But for us, he's putting up these WARs as a DH. I mean, he's Big Papi, essentially. I mean, what do you want? What do you want from the guy? He's insane. But yeah, so him and O'Hoppe still doing the damn thing. Neto did indeed rebound from his slow start to the season. A little bit above average league average hitter. Not the best hitting season for him, but he still swiped a bunch of bags, put up a 3 WAR. Wasn't great defensively, so I don't really know where the 3 WAR came from. But 3 WAR nonetheless. Nelson Rada struggled a bit in his sophomore campaign, but still wasn't like the worst. And, the whole damn team struggled. So, we're not going to be like, Nelson Rada, how dare you? We don't believe in you anymore because, Nelson Rada had like a mediocre season. It's whatever. Everybody did. George Lombard, though, he was actually quite solid in his 58 games played, 200 plate appearances, a 1.3 WAR, 118 WRC plus, 10 home runs, 8 doubles, 815 OPS. BABIP was quite high, I'll give you that. But still, pretty impressive from George Lombard. Played a decent third base, nothing to write home about, but he wasn't bad. So Lombard, maybe we got a little player here. I don't know if I'd go into next season with him as the starting third baseman. Maybe I would. But like I said, we're viewing him as like a younger Westberg replacement because he is not even arbitration eligible yet. He doesn't even have a full year of Major League service yet. So league minimum George Lombard, that could be a thing for us at third base. Next season, we have David Calabrese, who cooled off with the bat, but still, he did his thing. Swiped some bags. He dropped his WAR a bit, but his ZR was still 7, so he was solid enough. Is he going to be our starting center fielder next year? Maybe. We'll see. We'll have to see what happens over the offseason. But right now, I mean, if we repeat him at center field, he's not the reason why we lost. Why we were bad this season. Shea Langoliers, we actually got some production out of a backup catcher on the third try this season. We ended up DFAing and releasing Cal Raleigh because he was just so bad. We had Langoliers in AAA on a minor league deal, and he came up and played that JT Realmuto role that we had, and he was, fine in a backup catcher role. Would I bring him back? Probably not, but, he was there. Kyron Paris, very disappointing. Nothing else you can really say about that. 0.7 WAR, 75 WRC plus. The immediate year after, he has a 3.9 WAR and a 112 WRC plus. Apparently led the league with 33 stolen bases. I don't know what's going on in my league. We're out here doing nothing on the bases. 33 leads the league. I mean, come on. What are we doing? But, he did have a high percentage, so we'll take that. But he was bad defensively. He improved a little bit because this was -3 at one point. So he improved a little bit, but still not great. Like to see more from Kyron Paris. There's going to be some changes next season. Is Kyron Paris going to be our shortstop next year? Maybe he's our second baseman. Maybe Neto is at third base. Who knows? Who knows? But right now, this is what we got. So Kyron Paris at shortstop, not great season. Alan Sturda, his time down the stretch, he ended up getting 251 plate appearances. He was fine. League average WRC plus, 11 doubles, 10 home runs. Maybe get some more run there next season, see what happens. But, he's a guy to have. Robert Moore was fine. He had 100 plate appearances. Actually, he was probably more than fine. He was, the WRC plus was dragged down because he was awful with Philly, but he was pretty solid for us. 9 doubles, 110 WRC plus, 784 OPS. Obviously a high BABIP, but, he was fine. He was solid. He, Major League here. Bunch of positive ZRs here all around the infield. Love to see that. Wilyer Abreu ended the season on fire for us. He was only playing against righties because he's a lefty hitter, and that's what you do with these guys. 16 home runs, 9 doubles, 112 WRC plus. He was fine. Nothing that's going to be insane, but he was fine. Why is he pissed? Because we lost? What are you pissed about? You want to start against lefties too? Is that your thing? All right, whatever. But Trent Grisham, he was, backup center fielder, whatever. Rosario was not great. Probably won't bring him back. I do really like this BABIP, Gap Power, Power I combo that he's got here. This, quadruple. Obviously, the Void K is not ideal, but, if he gets a BABIP up to 60 plus these in the 60s, I mean, it's hard to see that and not be like, this guy could be a player. Because that looks like he could be a player. But, this season, not great. He also has no options, so he's not very flexible. He is still league minimum, though, so who knows? He'll probably be on the team next year, if I had to guess. At least we will probably try to put him on the roster. But Mike Trout, I mean, the worst WAR on the team. 89 games, 293 plate appearances, negative .5 WAR, 76 WRC plus, 9 home runs, 651 OPS. Just negative ZRs at every position he played. 37, man. It hit him. And it just came out of nowhere. I mean, we take a look at his MLB stats here. We start off in 2024, 5 WAR, 6 WAR, 4 WAR. Last year, obviously, a significant dip, but he was still a very productive player for us last year. Gets the World Series ring. And then 2028 happens, and it just falls off a cliff. The wheels fell off, man. And not looking good, because Mike Trout, we have him for 2 more seasons at 35.4. And, I mean, we can't roster this guy, man. It's obviously going to suck if we, just eat his contract. But, retire, man, please. We can't pay you this. Spare us. You've been loyal your whole career. Just help us out and retire. Please. But, I mean, it's not good. We're going to have to figure out something with that if he doesn't retire, because we have so many corner outfield bats that it's just we can't have him on the roster. He's bad. He's not good. It's rough. We'll see how we deal with it, though. Apparently Griffin Canning is hurt, rotator cuff strain, who knew? But must have just happened the last game of the season. Did he pitch this game? He pitched the game before. No, he pitched the game before that. No, he pitched the game here. No, he pitched this game. No. He must have pitched this game, because there's no way I had Jackson Ferris starting. But, yeah. So anyways, we'll sort this by innings. Logan Webb, very good season. We might be in the business of bringing him back just because replacing, maybe not. Maybe not at $40 million. Maybe not. But being in the business of replacing 5 starting pitchers is not an ideal thing to do. Obviously, Healy doesn't count because we traded Cease, but we would lose Cease. Canning is going to be gone after this year. He was awful, and he's an expiring free agent. We're not going to bring him back. So that's 2. 3, Detmers, he has 2 more years on team options, 10.7. He's not even 30 yet. He will be 30 next season. But unfortunately, he has the extreme fly ball now, which is not great. He was very consistent for us for quite a long time, but the extreme fly ball now, and he is just, I don't even know what it is. His K rate even went up. His walk rate is up a whole walk. That's not great. But he's had years in the 8s before, and he was still good. The home run rate, I don't know what it is. He seems the same, but he is not good anymore, apparently. But we might bring him back at least for one of these years, simply because being in the business of replacing 5 starting pitchers is not a recipe for success. You want to have some continuity in there. You don't want to have 5 new guys every single season. But Logan Webb might be a bit too might be a bit too expensive. But Woodruff, hopefully he doesn't opt out, because he does have this opt out, and then he drops down to 15.2, and then a player option for the next season after that. He is fragile, so it wouldn't be the end of the world if he. Oh, also he has a no trade clause, so I didn't shop him, but I forgot that he has a no trade clause, so we can't even trade him anyways. But anyways, Brandon Woodruff, I wouldn't be opposed to him opting out. I don't think he will, because he's like very much in this portion of his career where he's like not, he's not this type of guy anymore. He's much more this type of guy. We could take a look at his scouting. He's gotten some velocity drops. His control did improve though, which is good to see. Which you love to see that. You love to see a guy when his velocity drops, he's like, okay, well now I'm Kyle Hendricks. You like to see that, but I would not be opposed to him opting out, but also at the same time, like it'd be fine if he opted in. That's why we signed him. We're fine with him. But anyways, Woodruff, Detmers, they might be back despite them having bad years. Webb, I would like to bring back, but at this, what am I doing? At this type of contract, I mean, we are Los Angeles. We have money, but I don't know. I don't like, especially since he's going to be 32 next season. Not really what I'm trying to do, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We picked up Brian Mata off of waivers from St. Louis. For whatever reason, they waived him. He was good with Boston in 2027. How did he get to St. Louis? They just non-tendered him. Boston did, and then St. Louis was like, we'll scoop him up. And then he went to St. Louis, and he was solid in St. Louis. Split between the rotation and the bullpen. He was like, fine. He wasn't great, but then they put him on waivers. So we claimed his ass, and then he was like, fine in our bullpen. Put up 30 and 2/3 innings. Pretty solid. We'll take that. Abner Uribe we're looking here now. Lopez, solid year in the bullpen, 92 2/3 innings for this lefty who throws absolute heat with the nasty fastball slider, what am I talking about? Fastball slider combo with the good changeup as well. So he was great. Back-to-back seasons of him being very solid in our bullpen. Skylar Hayes was like fine, decent ERA, not great FIP. Struck out a bunch of guys, didn't walk too many guys, gave up way too many home runs. He needs to cut this down. You cannot be having a 1.8 home run per nine. That's just unacceptable. Hayden Birdsong. He got hurt for a little bit, but he came back. He had a really good FIP. Slightly below average ERA plus, still put up a 1.4 WAR, struck out a bunch of guys, didn't walk a lot of guys, and didn't give up home runs either. Love to see that. We've been waiting for him to do something for us, and he finally did. He finally put together a decent campaign for us in our bullpen, and he is still not yet arbitration eligible. So he'll probably be back next year as well. Andrew Healy, when he was in our bullpen, was not good. He was straight up bad. He went down to AAA. We called him back up to be the fifth starter once we traded Cease just to see what he's got. And he was like, hey, I'm still bad. Even though we've got decent ratings, that should not be leading to me being bad. But, that's what happens. He did not do anything along the lines of this 2027 AAA season that he had with St. Paul. But, not great. Chase Lee came up 32 innings. He was solid. Abner Uribe was fine. Walbert Urena was fine. Jackson Ferris, we called him up. Let's put him as a reliever. So he is a reliever for us. He came up and he was not great. He got that one spot start when Cannon got hurt and then just was really bad in the bullpen. Walked way too many guys, gave up way too many home runs. He might not be a major league pitcher. Might not be. Then we had George Soriano, who came up from AAA. He was solid in AAA down in Salt Lake. We called him up, and he was solid in our bullpen. He is a guy who is projected to make 2.8 arbitration next year, so do we want this guy in our team next season? He could be a decent arm to have in the bullpen, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how things shake out. But he's an interesting piece that we called up at the end of the season once we got to the roster expansion, as you can see. Solid numbers in his 19 innings that he got for us. They were very low leverage innings, though, so... and that's another thing, is that Ferris was putting up these numbers in low leverage innings. So, not great there. You can see we sort by player leverage here. The bottom two guys, Ferris, Urena, and I guess Soriano actually got a little bit better, a little bit more leverage than these other guys. But Ferris, not great. Not a great year from him. And I think that is all. I don't think we have anybody currently on the IL. We do not. Oh, also, Jamie Melendez, we sent him down because he just wasn't performing. He was walking too many guys, cutting into his K percentage. I mean, if your K minus walk percentage is like single digits, it's not good. Once again, another guy who my scat thinks could have some like wipeout stuff to really put up some big strikeout numbers, he just doesn't for whatever reason. So Jamie Melendez, he was in AAA. Did not go well for him in the big leagues, but he was good in AAA. Who else did we... Ben Joyce is apparently starting in AAA, and he's been actually solid down there, but he was really bad for us. Disastrous even, you could say. Who else? We had Grant Taylor up in the big leagues for a little bit. He was not good in 9 innings. We had Connor Phillips, who went set back down to AAA. He was really bad in the big leagues. Oh, yeah, and then Jordan Westberg, he went down to AAA, tore the cover off the ball down there, but unfortunately, he is going to be entering his age 30 season. He is projected to make 3.4 in arbitration, and like I said, we view Lombard as like his replacement, so, obviously I'm going to do a deeper dive on the roster and see if maybe we want to bring back Westberg for one more season, give him another chance, or if we're just going to move on and say, hey, man, it was great. The 2 seasons you had, you won a World Series here. You can come back for like the 20-year reunion and like some 40-year-old dude is like, hey, I remember that guy. But, not... It might not be a spot for you on next year's team. And then our man, the Showman, never actually came up to the big leagues this season. He did hit 38 ding-dongs in AAA, though. Only 13 doubles, but he put up a solid year in AAA. And he also won the Batter of the Month in September down in Salt Lake. Harrison Didewick was also solid in AAA, 140 WRC+. plus. Another one of these interesting first base / corner outfield guys that we have. Check in on our guy Mike Broyhill, who we picked up from Seattle in the Ian Happ trade. He was quite good in his 111 plate appearances in AA. Love to see that. I don't think he's going to be on next year's big league team because he is not eligible for the Rule 5 draft, so there's no really reason to put him on the 40-man and like rush him to the big leagues. Right now, he's pretty similar to Calabrese, I would say. So, maybe after next year he's an option, but I don't think he's an option next year. But he is. It is good to see that he is performing well in the minor leagues for us. We also have Maximus Martin, who was in AA, repeating the level this season, put up a 3 WAR. Really solid year for Maximus Martin, the Rutgers transfer. He was a 7th-round pick of ours in 2025. He's not the best player, but he's an interesting bench piece. He's got the high work ethic intelligence. He's got the good speed profile. He's not like a lights-out defender at any position. He's not going to like pick it at like an elite level. But he can play a bunch of different positions at an adequate level, and he can put bat on ball, and he can do decent things for you. He's a useful player to have. Maybe we see him up in a utility role at some point next season, or after the year after that, or just in AAA next year as like one of the immediate call-up guys if somebody gets hurt. Our guy Patrick Forbes down in AA this season tore it up. Once again, back-to-back seasons of just shoving down in AA. I think he's ready. He's going to be a part of our big league rotation next season. We're probably going to put him in the development lab too. Let's get this down because it's bothering me. There we go. Probably going to put him in the development lab. Maybe try to improve his changeup. Maybe try to improve his control. We'll take a look. But yeah, Patrick Forbes is somebody I'm looking at to have in the like back end of our rotation next season. Unfortunately, Chase Shores, the man who got a concussion in a motorcycle accident, looking like his time might be up. he wasn't the worst in the bullpen for us, but he was a first round pick. He's almost 25. He's got the 35 control. It's not looking great. It's not looking great for Chase Shores. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention the other giant bummer. Chris Sands, our first round pick from last season, 28th overall, the number 28 prospect in baseball, made it all the way up to Double-A for us, was good at that level this season, was good in the minors last year. Literally at the very end of the season, tears his flexor tendon in his elbow. He's not going to be back until like November of November 2029. I mean, just a disaster. He's going to miss all of next season. As my guy Pat Holan always says, there's no such thing as a pitching prospect. There is no such thing as a pitching prospect. I subscribe to that mentality as well. Literally anything can happen to these guys, and we have seen it with Sands. We've seen it with Shores. It's just not great. But a couple hitters that we have down in the system who have been performing pretty well. We've got Sadid Matthews. He was our second round pick after Chris Sands in the first round. 70 range. I believe that's bumped up. Maybe not. I'm pretty sure it used to be 65, but now it is 70. But anyways, great range for Sadid Matthews here. Good speed profile. Looks like he could have a good bat. He is a very interesting player. Put up a 2.5 WAR in high A. He will be in Double-A next season. We will see how he does with the high work ethic. He's also a possible development lab player for us. And then the other player I wanted to mention was Juan Padilla, who was a third-round pick. Our 1, 2, 3 all looking pretty solid up until Chris Sands gets hurt, obviously. So 2, 3 is still looking pretty solid in that draft class. This guy from Niagara County Community College, Juan Padilla here, looking like the bat could be something here. Another guy who we might look to put in the development lab here this offseason. 3 WAR and A-ball. He's another guy who we will probably look to have in Double-A, if not start him in high A and then move to Double-A like halfway through the season, like once we get to the draft. But he's another interesting guy to keep our eye on. High leader, good defensive profile, possibly more of like a third baseman, second baseman than he is a shortstop. I mean, I've already moved him to third base because I don't think he's a shortstop, but he can play all over the infield. He could even play some outfield for you with that 60 range. We'll probably get him some innings in the outfield as well next season. Make it so he's possible like utility guy and has a decent bat. Ben Zobrist, Puerto Rican Ben Zobrist. That would be pretty cool. But overall, our system, not the greatest. 24th out of 30. It did not start off great. I never really have the greatest prospect systems in this game, just because, I don't know, just the way I build teams, I guess, doesn't really lend itself to, like, stocking up as many prospects as possible. I tend to stock up, like, 45 potential guys as opposed to, like, having a ton of, like, Orioles levels prospects. But, we're not last. We used to be, like, 29th. I mean, I'm pretty sure we were even 30th at one point, but we're not last. But still, not the greatest prospect system. And we're entering a off-season where there's going to be quite a few changes. I also think that I'm going to bump up the development lab size to either 7 or 8 once we get to the off-season. Just because, 6 as the default is fine, but I don't think bumping it to, like, 8 is that crazy, Like, the AI teams are going to have access to 8 as well. It's not like only I have access to it. But, it's a new feature. It's fun to use. I figured, maybe I go 7, maybe I go 8. But, more the merrier is how I see it. I don't really have to subscribe to, like, obviously I'm not going to go bump it up to 20. But I think it's fine. I think it's fine to have it on 7 or 8. I am also considering expanding the league by 2 teams and realigning the divisions to have like 2 big divisions in each league. Usually I do that when I do long-term sims, and I just think it's a more fun way of doing it and mixing things up and not having just these standard 3 chunk divisions, because once you expand in this, it gets pretty lopsided with different teams, and you got like you got six teams in one division, six teams here, five in all the rest. It can get pretty messed up. But not that I'm like saying this as being like, oh, put your feedback, because with that way I record these, we won't be seeing this until like June. I'm recording this, it's May 17th. So, but just as a way to speak out my thought process here, I am thinking of possibly realigning entering this off season, which we will do after the awards get given out. But as of right now, it's something that's on my mind. It's something that I might be doing. My guy Jamie Melendez retired. What? He finally gave him to the big leagues, and he wasn't great. And he's only 27. Like you're still at league minimum. I wasn't gonna give up on you. You were probably gonna be on next year's team. And he's just like, I don't have it. It's too tough for me. I'm out of here. See ya. Oh, also, I forgot to mention that Mike Trout, awful season for him, but he does get to 500 career home runs. As you can see, he is at exactly 500 right now. That'd be a great thing to have on a baseball card, Mike Trout. Retiring with exactly 500. Speak it into existence. You're never going to get to 3,000. You've already got 2,000. Probably not going to get to 2,500 either. Just hang him up. That's all I'm saying. Just hang him up. Oh, I also forgot to go through and look at the league leaders for the stats here. You can see the batting average leader was Juan Soto in the National League with his New York Mets. I mean, just absurd. Just absurd. I mean, the guy is not human. Juan Soto, incredible season with the Mets. And then the American League leader was Julio Rodriguez with an 8-WAR season, 8.7 WAR, 14.9 at center field. I mean, insane. Incredible year for Julio. We've got, is that Yandy? Yanir Diaz. I was like, there's no way Yandy is still kicking around. But yeah, Tamar Johnson's up here as well with Pittsburgh. Love to see that for them. He's turned into quite a stud. James Wood with 49 home runs leads the National League. Nolan Shanuel, 45, leads the American League. It looks like, he was a guy that I was interested in. I was interested in Acuna heading into the offseason if they weren't going to bring him back. But unfortunately, they did bring him back. So Acuna will not be somebody who we are in contention for when it comes to extending. And then they still got him. I feel like that's still a discount. They had him on the absurd deal before. 31.5 for this type of production and in a corner outfielder. I mean, that's, he's not a good defender anymore. Bad. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because he's like a DH at this point in his career. Maybe they try to train him up at first base, but still, it seems like 31.5 is a bit of a discount for a guy like him. Shanuel, top 5 in ribbies. I believe this even led the American League because everybody else in the National League was just cooking, and we were not, apparently. 441 OBP from Juan Soto, 425 from Tamar Johnson, and Tristan Cassis with the White Sox instead of the Red Sox is an absolute stud for them. Love to see that for Chicago as we OPS Soto, WAR, 2-8 WAR guys, Rodriguez and Holiday. Fifth most ABs, Nelson Rada. Getting in those reps, baby. Runs, Acuna. Total bases, Shanuel. Stolen bases, like we said, American League leader was Kyron Paris. National League was Justin Crawford and Gunnar Henderson, I guess, tied with Paris. We take a look at OPS Plus was Juan Soto. ISO was James Wood. And yeah, we move things on to the pitching side of things. ERA leader Luke Little. Not only is Luke Little still around, but he is a starter for the Cubs and putting up really solid numbers out of nowhere. He was like a solid bullpen guy for them for a while, but he was out of nowhere at 28. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna be a 6 starter now. More power to you. Leads the league in ERA. Love to see that. I love this. Unironically, I do love to see stuff like that happen in OOTP. It's very fun. I enjoy it. Is this Bobby Miller? It is indeed. Who else do we have? The saves leader, Ryan Fernandez of the Boston Red Sox. Why does that name sound familiar? I guess he's in their system already. Huh. Anyways, War Leader, bunch of guys at 6.5. Gallon Yamamoto. Who's this Lampkin guy? Justin Lampkin. He was their first round pick in 2025. He's quite a stud. They have this guy, and they just took that other guy first overall. I'm not going to go looking in their system and get all distracted here, but if you watched the draft episode, you saw that they took a guy who could be pretty good with number 1 overall this year, so pairing that guy with this guy could be pretty solid for them. Jacob Mizorowski leads the league in strikeouts. Incredible. I mean, 34.9 K percentage, 36 last year. Insane stuff. We move things on. Walks per 9, Logan Webb. The guy does not like walking people. 38 walks to 191 in the third innings. Or 191 just flat innings. We take a look. ERA plus Luke Little. Love to see it. Shutdowns, Alzolay. There's Fernandez, Stefan, Angel Shavilli. Rule 5 pick from Cleveland. Traded by the Rockies to Cleveland along with Ryan Ritter in exchange for Marcos Paz and CJ Kafis. Pretty minor deal, and then they're just getting this dude to be a stud for... I guess he wasn't even really a stud. He just had a lot of shutdowns because he pitched a lot, but he wasn't even good. That's wild. Holds, who's this guy? Joe LaSorsa from St. John's. Of course, a guy named LaSorsa is from St. John's. I don't know exactly where this is, but I'm just guessing that it's on Long Island. Yeah, fielding leaders. Errors, not great. You got to cut down on that, Kyron. Not great indeed. Is Bo Bichette still playing short? Yeah. I mean, the thing about him is Bo Bichette's... I mean, he's not even really hitting. So... stings to see for him, but, you know, at least we're not the only team in LA playing a guy like this at shortstop. Defensive efficiency, Logan Hoppe. What else are we looking for here? Catcher's ERA. Harry Ford's up there. Framing runs, Ethan Salas, of course he is. He seems to be he's quite insane. 80 grade catcher, really good hitter. At least he's starting to come into his own here. He's 22. He's not even halfway to 23. I guess he's basically halfway to 23. And he's got a 6-WAR season. It's just slowly going up with the WRC plus. 30 doubles. I mean, he's even swiping bags as a catcher. He just goes up every year in like every category. And then he's just this insane 80 blocking, 75 framing, 70 arm catcher. He's got the insane leader, work ethic, intelligence. 12.6 framing runs. I mean, what were the Padres this year? Yeah, 92 wins. Yeah. I mean, you could probably, I could probably throw, like a 1-WAR if I had this guy as my catcher. We can bond over the fact that he was born in the year that I vividly remember A-Rod walking up to "This Is Why I'm Hot" when I was playing Little League. We have reached the end of the playoffs, and the Seattle Mariners are your 2028 World Series champions. We've got some pretty similar things from last season going on. We got an AL West team beating the Cubs in the World Series. We've got an AL West team beating the Orioles in the LCS after the Orioles were not quite as good as they were the 125-win team that we beat, but they were still the top of the American League East because they have an insane roster in this game. Whereas this Mariners team, they also had a really good season. I think they might have even been the best in the American League. They were indeed. They had the best record in the American League. Not quite the best record overall, but the best record in the American League. I mean, they were a solid team. Julio hit 38 home runs, 8 wins for him, led the league in average as well. Nick Prado is somehow still their DH, and he's still playing every day. I don't know how, like, if I don't know. It annoys me because I know if I did that, that would be like the determining factor in why our team stinks, because we have a guy like this playing DH every day. But they can just do that, and it's completely fine, I guess. Also, Seiya Suzuki. Okay. Didn't really have a great season, but he was okay. You know, we decided we opted not to bring him back that one year because he was, like, not the best Did not have a great 2027 with Boston, a really bad 2027. Comes back, a little bit of a rebound bench season with the Mariners, it looks like. And he put up a decent year for them. So good for Seiya Suzuki getting a ring. Blaze Alexander, one of the best names in baseball. Yuck, IMG Academy, hate that. But, Blaze Alexander, he gets a ring here with Seattle. Jake Berger gets a ring. He's still on the Seattle team. Very similar roster to the one that we lost to in the wild card. I think it was in 2026. Luis Matos is still here. He's a perfectly fine player. Cole Young was probably their big... Well, I guess he's been there. The whole time. But Cole Young is definitely a very solid player for them. Definitely one of their better plays. Leadoff guy for them. If we take a look... I should probably, in the lineups, look at their war here. So, yeah, Julio, Harry Ford, Cole Young, Ty Pete was their shortstop. First year in the bigs, made the jump from Double-A to the big leagues, and he was quite good. Quite good for them. 8 ZR at shortstop. I would love to see our 65 range shortstop put up ZRs like that. I don't know why he doesn't, but, that's not here or there. But the Mariners do win the World Series here. Let's take a look at their pitching real quick. Sort by war. Yeah, three studs at the top of the lineup here, and then they got Munoz in the pen, Tyler Holton putting in some decent innings for them as well. But it was really the three-headed monster here of Luis Castillo, Brian Wu, and George Kirby. I mean, just absurd. Just absurd. All three of them on fire. All three of them putting up monster seasons. Luis Castillo no, he's not, never mind. I think they extended him. He was going to be an expiring contract, but they extended him through his age 38 season. So he's going to stay put in Seattle. Brian Wu is signed through his age 30 season in 2030. And George Kirby is also signed through 2030. So this team has a couple more years of having this core around in the pitching staff. Quite scary. This team is definitely really, really solid. So we'll see where they go from here.